October 11th, 2021 meeting to order. Chelsea, a minute to get back here. Okay. First off, oath of office, conductor. You need to read your oath of office.
I just need you to reread that.
Okay. I, Timothy W. Doctor of Washburn, North Dakota, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of North Dakota, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Washburn City Commissioner according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Okay. Welcome, Tim, new commissioner.
Okay, thanks, Larry.
Okay, first on the agenda, the September 13th meeting minutes. Everybody have a chance to review those?
I make a motion to accept the minutes of September 13th.
I'll second. Questions on the minutes? No? Don? Yes?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes. Okay. Next, approve the September 27th special meeting minutes.
I make a motion to accept the September 27th special meeting minutes.
I'll second. Questions, comments? Don? Yes?
Aye.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, and then approve of the September 29th, 2021 special meeting minutes.
I make a motion to accept the September 29th special meeting minutes.
I'll second. Questions? No? Don? Yes?
Aye.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, then we move on to financials. Anybody have any questions? A chance to read the financials or questions about?
Just or the drainage. Well, wait.
That's bills. That's bills. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. Any other questions on bills? So I'll move to accept the financials.
Okay.
Don? Yes?
Aye.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. Since you're okay to here, we have ladies to come to our table and address the commission. Yeah, I know. We're on camera, so you got that.
Okay.
Cameras and mics.
Yeah. Speak quickly.
Okay, I'm Lois Bookman.
Okay.
I'm Janae Swan. We're representing Washburn United Methodist Church and the First Lutheran Church of Washburn, asking permission to block off the road October 31st from the cafe to the Shake Shop for trunk or treat from 3:30 to 5:30.
Yeah, and something we've done before.
Not for trunk or treat, but we did do like a song fest.
Oh, okay. But it's been done
Yeah,
for
it's been,
many different players. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions or?
No, I'll move, we allow it.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Don? Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you,
Simple
guys.
and easy.
Thank
Thank you, thank you.
So you'll just have to let the people know here when you need the barricades and so they can get them out there, and have them ready. You can set them up.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. One live. Oh, ambulance. Ran in here, or maybe he's getting the fire department. Maybe he's the fire truck. Oh boy, that could make it.
Okay, Candy Caravan would like to have streets blocked out from 6th Avenue, or 6th Street to 9th Street on Main for their Candy Caravan, which is the Friday before our Halloween.
And that is
28th,
30th. Friday would be the 29th. And that's from where? You said?
Stock Shop to the museum.
Okay. Have you done that before? And then from what hours?
I'm not sure Claudio is going to come.
That's fine.
I think it's for
It's only for a couple hours, right?
4 to 6 or something like that, or 3 to 6.
That's fine. Okay. Do we have a motion to allow that?
So move.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Further discussion? Don?
Yes. Aye.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, all right, well, then once again, you know, you just have to get hold of the guys, so. Okay, now, Small Business Saturday.
The Washburn Life Group would like, or to have the fees waived from the Memorial Building for a vendor show to help support the small, like vendors, crafters, small businesses. And that is 10 to 3 on that Saturday.
So I see you want Friday to set up, is that correct?
Yes.
Correct, and then, okay. So it's November 23rd and 24th. Yeah, something we've done before, so.
And,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we've done it
Okay,
before.
we have a motion,
Yep.
I'll second it.
okay. Further discussion? Don?
Yes. Aye.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Santa days?
Santa Day is December
3rd and 4th? it
3rd and
says.
4th, so yeah, that, would like the fees waived for that, so we can have Santa come and visit, and some other festivities that are still in the planning stages.
So, is like, okay, 3rd and 4th, that's, Friday and Saturday again?
Saturday, yeah, so it'll be Friday night.
Oh, Friday
We'll
night.
set up, and then Saturday, and,
Oh, 'cause here it says 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., but
yeah, that's
whatever.
for Santa Day on that Saturday.
Oh, that's for the actual day,
This
okay.
is Saturday then.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's still in the planning stages, I just kinda estimated a date or time.
Okay, yeah.
Because we're still trying to find organizations that would help, maybe do games
Oh, yeah.
and stuff like that, to give the kids something to do while they wait for Santa.
What's that?
Motion,
I'll make a motion that we approve it.
I'll second it.
discussion. Don?
Yes. Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
That was easy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, we have the Mule Deer Foundation. Chelsea, you know anything about this?
Yeah, it sounds like they're doing a, raffle for 12 guns. It's gonna be held at the Captain's Cabin. It'll be on November 9th. I believe that's a Tuesday.
And it's a one-day thing, right?
Yes. It's just this evening.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see a problem with it. I'll make a motion to allow the raffle.
I will second it.
Discussion? Don?
Yes.
Is there,
Oh, go ahead.
is there a price tag on this? Or usually we like to know that number and I don't see it on here.
That's a good point. I missed that, you're right.
I'm looking, maybe I missed it.
I don't see
too.
it.
I know it's guns, but usually they have a rough estimate on it. On the form, so we fill out the form and stuff.
That's a good point. We don't have that.
No, this form is different that he filled out. I wasn't here when he had dropped it off, but,
This is not they have not filled out a local permit form, so I guess we really need to, did I make the motion? I did, right?
Yes.
And it was
I'm gonna rescind the motion.
Yep.
Yeah, we need to have the proper,
Paperwork.
application filled out for that.
this is pretty much the one that gets sent to.
Right.
Similar to the one that goes to the state.
Yeah, damn it. I wish I'd have caught that, because I looked at it too, and I missed it, so. Okay, well, they'll just have to get the right paperwork in, I guess, so. Can you call her tomorrow?
Do we have,
Yep.
when is this set up?
November 9th is a Tuesday. It's right after our next commission meeting.
It's the day after our commission meeting. I mean, I don't see an issue with it as long as. they-
Right, can we approve it?
I'm not gonna,
Okay.
I'm not even gonna
Okay.
entertain approving anything until we see it.
Okay.
Do you want a list of what the 12 guns are? Or
Well, yeah,
just a price for them?
They need the description and retail value of the prize. I
Like
mean, it
this,
says right on there.
Okay.
like this one here.
Yep.
for the
Correct.
Church.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I wish we'd have caught that. But they still have time. Okay. Where am I at? St. Edward's Catholic Church local permit. And they're having a raffle. Full price is $2,340. And it is from 10:17 to 12:31. And daily drawings from 12:20 to 12:31. Repair roof on the church. It looks bad, the roof does. So, looks like they have everything filled out properly. I'll make a motion to approve the St. Edward's raffle.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Don?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes. Bill, come on up. He's here on behalf of the Washburn Senior Center.
Yeah, I'm Bill Wolf, senior, as the president of the senior center, and looking for help, funds, to help pay for the roofing. They have to put a new roof on. We're going with steel.
Okay.
We talked about that, right?
Do you want me to just kind of summarize it? or-
Sure.
Okay, so basically, they've got two different bids. One is from a local guy, another one was from, out of Bismarck. There's quite a difference between the two bids. And both seem to be, very good contractors that we can find out. So, did you decide on the spectacular construction? Is that what you decided on?
Yes, we
Okay.
signed a contract Friday.
Okay, they signed the contract Friday, and basically what they did, from what I understand, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is,
Need one?
no. Oh, it's right here. So far, the bid is, total bid comes to, what, $10,100, I
Yep.
believe?
Mm-hmm.
So they have got $3,000 from the Legion, they've gotten $1,500 from Farmers Community Bank, and they've gotten $1,000 from Great River Energy. Have you gotten any other donations
Yes,
on
we
that?
got 2,000 more from, the Lions,
From the Lions, okay.
that's it.
So basically now you're $2,100 short is what I'm guessing?
Is that where we're at now? I think we're at, right around 7,500 here, isn't it?
Well, let's see, we got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, 7,500.
Okay.
So, and then you subtract that from 10,000, so it's
About
2,600,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
2,600. I think we need to spur our senior center. Do a metal, it'll last forever.
It will last a long time. The only thing is that I worry about, and I'm not saying not help, just that it's not our building. I don't know who it belongs to.
Senior center.
I
Belongs
believe-
to the seniors.
I believe
It was built-
the city gave it to the senior center.
Is that how that
City
works?
gave it to the seniors in 1974 for $1.
Okay.
I had to go to courthouse to find that out. I couldn't believe we were supposed to own it too.
Right, I didn't know either, and,
Yeah.
that's the only thing, but, yeah, we need to support them. I don't know where to get the funds out of,
I think just for the general fund, period.
because we didn't budget for anything like that in our deal, but, I didn't know if we wanted to do it out of the general fund, or if we wanted to do something for economic development, or out
Our
of the
general
one
fund
that's-
is pretty good. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever you can help with, fine. We're trying to get some more even from,
Well, if you get any more donations, then you can put it in your coffers, I guess, so.
yeah.
So 26 is what we're looking at?
$2,600 would take them up to, 26, yeah, it'd be 10,100, yeah.
Western Frontier, mate, give something, they were supposed to call me today. They've been dragging their feet for quite a while.
So, well,
I
you need to.
Rhonda has something to say.
Tomorrow at our Washburn Life meeting, we are discussing making a donation.
Are they Anything you say?
We already discussed it. They said they needed more information because Tony wasn't there to give us information. So we tabled it from the last month and we'll be talking about it tomorrow at our meeting.
Okay. I think we should still get
Yeah, I think we need to go ahead, and then if they get another donation, they can
They
always
can
use
just-
it for other things.
For
So-
utilities or something
Because I know they
like
have
that.
work to do in the basement, that's
Yeah.
been coming up, so.
And air conditioners, another than that, just handy, $80 an hour, and he figures it takes 6 hours to charge and recharge. Well, that seems like a lot, doesn't it?
No, not really.
Not really.
No?
No.
Yeah, just buck this after, about 6 hours, he does at $88. So.
Yeah.
And that is the number. That's
Right.
There's always some little things.
So I make a motion to give the senior center $2,600
From out of the general
out
fund.
of the general fund.
Okay,
Second?
okay, further discussion? Done?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes. Very good.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah, we'll
guys.
get that checked to you as
Thank
soon
you,
as we can, so.
Yep.
Do you know when they're gonna start, or?
When I talked to him, he figured maybe 3 weeks to a month.
Oh, okay.
And that's the bad part. It's gonna get cold, but he says he can put steel on,
Well, yeah, if
Anytime.
it was asphalt shingles, I might be a little worried, but
yeah,
people put them on in the winter too, so.
yeah.
They were still going to take a layer off, is that,
Yes.
on one of them, on
Yeah,
both
they'll-
bids,
Yes, yes.
Yeah, they gotta take the,
Yeah.
shingles all off, then you gotta remove the air conditioner and build another platform.
Yeah, level
Yeah.
everything.
There
Yeah.
wasn't a hand.
And that's
This
on
was-
both sides.
What
color are you going with?
Kind of a, I don't know, they picked kind of a gray, I think, or light brown.
Whatever color they want, I don't know.
Well, it'd be nice if it was the same color as the Memorial Hall, but,
You know, the whole thing is, we talked all about that, but you can't even see it,
yeah.
unless you
so-
come in the back alley.
Right,
Yeah.
So,
okay, thank you.
Okay,
Bill.
thanks, guys.
We'll get it checked out to you soon.
yeah.
I did that right before,
Is there a question or not?
just on
I was just asking.
the
her.
Midwest Ag Energy for
Yeah.
information on that. But that email that I had sent out to all of you guys,
Oh.
I don't think I printed it for Tim.
Yep.
That was
Oh,
prior.
Yep.
And I,
you mean the memorandum?
yeah,
Mm, okay.
I didn't
Okay, guys.
think about that,
You're
I'm
up.
sorry.
Corey and Lynn,
Good.
They're here to discuss US Ag Energy Water.
Have you shared that with?
everybody except Tim.
Right.
So do you guys know Tim Doctor? I know Lynn does.
I know.
Yes.
Yep. How you
I
doing,
do
Lynn?
not.
Good. Good to see you.
Yeah. That's Corey Charney, he's the AHUS.
You got one, do you have one?
He's not
Oh, I have,
our personal engineer, but he works with,
Okay.
Plain Sheridan, and then Tim Doctor is that.
Nice to meet you. If I'd have known tonight was your first night, I'd have brought a bottle of champagne.
Break it over
That would've
my
been
pickup.
Right, bring it over your head.
Yeah, there you go. Christened.
Wait till after the vote.
I think that falls under hazing too, Lynn.
Okay.
Well, maybe I'll do a little bit of a background
Sure.
intro for Commissioner
Yeah.
Doctor's benefit in terms of what we're talking about. For the better part of a year, we've been working with the City of Washburn and Midwest Ag Energy on a project to maintain water service to the Blue Flint ethanol plant.
Okay.
As things have developed with the Coal Creek Power Plant, their current source of water, Midwest Ag Energy has been working to figure out how to replace that water source in the event that Coal Creek was either shuttered or changed ownership. And as things stand right now, it appears it's going to change ownership. But the future of the power plant has carbon capture associated with it, which is a rather water-intensive process with current technologies. So as that facility starts adding that capability, they're not going to have much in the way of excess water capacity to continue to supply their needs, plus the ethanol plant.
Okay.
So we've been working, like I said, for the better part of the year on a plan to bring a pipeline down to Washburn, have McLean Sheridan enter a water supply agreement or modify the current water supply agreement and use Washburn as the source of that water. McLean Sheridan would deliver that then to Midwest Ag Energy's Blue Flint ethanol plant.
Okay.
So, big picture for Washburn, what that means is we've got intake, pulls water out of the river, run through the water treatment plant, and take that water and then deliver that to, obviously the residents here, but then McLean Sheridan takes some of that, and then a significant amount of water would also then go to the ethanol plant. I think it would about triple or quadruple the amount of water that Washburn produces on an annual basis. So it's a pretty significant volume of water. So we spent a lot of time looking at the capital costs of that project, of what it would take to expand the city's infrastructure, build the pipeline, and some other things that we would need to get the water up there. And then simultaneously, we also looked at what would it cost in terms of operation and maintenance to produce the water and transfer it. And I'll walk through that a little bit at a high altitude.
Yep.
So on the document that you have in front of you, a memorandum of understanding, this is a draft document that I would highly recommend you guys not only study, but get your attorney to review this and provide any comments to you guys as well in terms of the language that is in here. This is not necessarily a binding document or doesn't really commit the city to anything other than it provides the framework that we will then use to develop the actual agreement. So this then would lead to a water supply agreement, either a new one or amend your existing one and start allocating responsibilities and costs to the parties through a more formal agreement. But this is just the working document that we give out to everybody, so we're all working, you know, from the same sheet of music, so to speak, in terms of everybody understands what we're doing, why we're doing it, and who's going to be responsible to do, you know, the different tasks that we'll have to do, and who's going to pay for what.
Okay.
So as we looked at the water supply end of it, there were two parts of it, a water supply concept and then a wastewater disposal concept. The water supply concepts that we looked at were just shipping pure raw water from Washburn to the facility or fully treated water to the facility. Raw water, the estimated cost for that was just over $9.8 million. That's at the bottom of page 1. For fully treated water, we'd be looking at about $12.5 million. And the difference between those two, there would be some expansion for the water treatment plant to run that amount of water through that. So that's why what the cost difference is purely in the expansion of the water treatment plant as it sits today. On the wastewater disposal side of it, option 1 was to parallel the water pipeline that would take water to Blue Flint, parallel that with a wastewater pipeline that would bring process blow down and that type of thing back, dispose of that into the city's lagoon system. That was about a $6.2 million project. And then the other option would be to just run a pipeline straight to the Missouri River and dispose of that water straight into the river.
So you'd have to have a treatment plant of your own then before you could dump it into the river?
It wouldn't be treated.
Oh, it wouldn't be.
We'd just be able to get a discharge permit.
Okay.
It's when I say wastewater, it's not like gray water from the city. This is concentrate from their treatment processes that they would have, some particulates and some dissolved minerals that we would be able to get a permit to just dump that right back into the river. So
real quickly, you know, I mean, you've been talking with Colin on this, you know, he's not here, but I really think that doing the wastewater disposal through our lagoon system is probably off the table.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I think that's something we really don't want to get into.
Well,
you know,
I think from a cost perspective, first
Right.
and foremost, I don't think that's, I mean, Midwest Ag Energy looked at and said,
Right.
they actually looked at it and said, well, can we just go straight to the river? We had-
exactly.
They think that the water is good enough to dump straight into the river.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make that clear that
Yeah.
the city's really not interested in that.
Right.
Okay.
So,
We understand that.
absolutely, I know you do, I just,
Yeah.
so,
A big part of the cost difference was for lagoon capacity was
we'd have to build way more.
likely going to get overwhelmed
Yeah.
in terms of the volume of water that we would be
Exactly.
handling. So I think, you know, just the capital cost and the operating costs as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's
So you'd run that water, that wastewater towards the Missouri River then?
right.
Probably following the same pipeline as the plant gets their water supply from them?
Right.
So that we could hook our intake or through our plant has to discharge some water being processed, right? Right,
Well, yeah, what we do is we have some holding ponds.
right, but
It goes into there and then overflows.
can we put that back into that pipeline too? Because we're gonna have more
No.
settlement
No, we cannot, that's,
from the discharge from the
from them,
plant.
no.
No, from
They
the
would-
plant.
No. We don't have our own set up just for what we can do at the plant. We can't put.
Right, but we have to expand that is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if we have to.
I'm assuming you're gonna be several miles out.
Right, we will, we'll be,
Yeah.
whatever around the corner.
And the health department's gonna have to approve anything that's
Yeah.
done.
I get your question though, yeah. right.
Yeah, because we have to, when I talked to Adam, increase
Oh, yeah,
our yield to.
we would have to come up with another plan for our district.
Right, okay, yeah, that's what I was wondering.
So you're gonna discharge going down the same line that the intake, the plant is coming on. If you can't do it that way, you have to get a separate permit to put a separate line in. Is that feasible, or would it be more feasible just to discharge it in your wash permit?
No,
You know what I'm
it
saying?
yeah, no, it would still be feasible just to go straight. You know, the shortest distance is what we look at. You know, we're showing following that existing pipeline for easement purposes, but that's just an assumption on our part that would be the easiest route to get easements on, but we haven't really worked on that.
Okay.
It's gonna be, you know, for cost reasons, straight south as a crow flies to the river, to save capital costs as much as we can, would be the plan.
Okay.
If the health department, for whatever reason, said, no, we're not going to let you do that, they would probably be in the situation of having to do a lagoon, you know,
Right.
something similar that you guys do, build a lagoon, contain it, and then, you know,
So
demonstrate.
you don't have to hook up filters at the river then to take this water?
No,
It's gonna discharge directly into the river?
right,
Okay.
yep.
There might be settling ponds before it goes to the river, maybe, but
Yeah,
maybe,
that-
hard to say.
That would be it. But in terms of, you know, what this water is gonna look like, it's going to, have a higher concentration of dissolved minerals, but it won't have, like your wastewater, not to get too geeky on wastewater, but it's got a biochemical oxygen demand.
Won't have your bed.
This water that they have won't have that. And generally, if you don't have that, you don't have any issues.
So it's not drinkable then?
I wouldn't drink it, no. It'd give you a pretty
There
bad
may
tummy
even
ache.
be a settling pond at the plant site out there prior to discharging.
Right, okay, I understand that.
It's kinda like what we do with the stuff from our water
Yeah,
treatment plant, it goes
yeah.
to a settling pond and then
Yeah,
overflow
that's
goes
it.
out, so, yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
Any questions? Any other questions, I should say? All right. Now flipping to the next page, the cost of service in terms of the water supply. On the previous page, we had 2 alternates for water supply, and this one I've got 3 showing the cost of service. One of the curveballs that Midwest Ag Energy threw at us at the 11th hour was, well, we asked for costs for treated water, we asked for costs for raw water, what would it cost us to get partially treated water? And from a capital cost perspective, I don't think that $12.5 million number changes much, because I think we still have to do the same things to the plant, whether they, you know, run it through the filters or not. The cost on that, and don't really know what's going on the other side of the fence in terms of what they're looking at or things like that, but for treated water, and we've got a sliding scale on all of these, and it's dependent on how much water they have, but it would be anywhere from, and this includes the cost of production and supply for Washburn, and then this also includes the cost of delivery for McLean Sheridan. So there's 2 costs baked into this, but it's anywhere from $371 to $532 for treated.
And that's for how many gallons?
That'd be for 215 million gallons bought at the ethanol plant, and that would be about 240 million gallons
But,
made here.
but it'd be like 371 per 1,000 gallons, or?
Yes.
Per 1,000 gallons?
Per 1,000
That was my
gallons.
question.
Oh,
Per
I'm
1,000
sorry.
gallons.
Yeah, per 1,000.
1,000 gallons, okay, yeah. That's what I thought, but
Yep.
just to make sure. Okay.
For clarified, we're estimating at 305 to 467. And I think that might be a little bit conservative because we just didn't have the time to spend on looking at that in
Right.
in a
Last
whole lot of
minute.
detail yet, but hopefully that number's higher than what it would actually turn out to be. And then for raw water, it'd be anywhere from $1.46 to $2.52. So we've given them that, we've shared that information and are, really waiting for them to decide what they want to proceed with on those.
So they're still trying to decide, right? Pretty much?
Yeah, because they're, if they take fully treated water, there's not much that they have to do besides
Mhm.
they'll take maybe a 50-gallon a minute side stream out of the 700 gallons a minute. They'll run that through an RO for their boiler makeup
Right.
water,
Yeah.
and then the rest of it they won't have to do.
Right.
If they take clarified water, they'll still have to process that and take out, any remaining sediment in the water. And then if it's raw water, they'll just have to treat it that much more.
Right.
I have another question for you then. If, situation like it is this year with the river being so low, do you have additional costs figured into these figures for low water?
We do not. I want to say the test year that we used for these numbers was 2019. And I don't know that you guys would have been in this, emergency type situation.
Right.
But the language that we generally recommend inside of our water agreements always includes a true-up clause. That way, every year, you're looking at what the actual costs are, to make sure that, one, that you're, as the city, are not subsidizing with added costs, and then the same thing, that they're not necessarily being overcharged. But in the water supply agreements, we would recommend putting that true-up clause into, we've got the budgets that we looked at, historical, to try and get, as close to a ballpark number on what these should be. But generally, we always recommend putting a true-up clause in that. That way, everybody's protected and not, in the city's case, going to be subsidized.
Are you gonna put that into this form here before we actually start talking about actualities?
Well, I would recommend that for the agreement. So, like I said, this is the framework that then will lead to actual agreements, and in those agreements that everybody's going to execute, we would put that true-up language in that.
I guess I would hope that the intake structure could manage the highs and the lows, because they, everybody knows that the river is up and down like this. And so you have to build a system that's gonna manage that.
But see, now, part of this system is a new intake.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see.
And so that system should
Yeah,
manage.
it's not where we're at now.
But the
Yeah.
river changes the flow from different parts of the river depending on how much water comes down.
We get that, yeah.
So, if we get a lot of snow this year, and it builds up in the dam, that flow coming out initially in the spring is gonna be pretty high. So you could actually change where your deep spots and your shallow spots are on the river.
Changes all the
I-
time, yeah.
Right, yeah, that's all I'm saying.
And when you did this estimate for production, you considered all the stuff, extra people to run the plant and
Yep.
or upgrading the membranes faster and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because we're using more,
Yeah.
you're looking into all that, right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
if you remember, I don't remember how long ago you were here last, it's been quite a while, but we had the detailed breakdown of your, budget as it was with the, the city and just McLean Sheridan, and then we threw in, what everything would look like in terms of labor, chemicals, power, all those costs, and ramp those up to go from, a facility that's
Right.
making.
There would be a true-up
On that.
at the point that an agreement was signed. There would be an actual true-up of all of these costs. We wouldn't be using costs from 1 or 2 years ago.
Right.
Right, that,
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing that I should note, that these costs also reflect that there is a depreciation element in these numbers as well. So all these improvements that we talked about on page 1, those capital costs, we're depreciating all those new assets out over a 20-year period. And that's included in these numbers as well, not only on, you know, the new infrastructure for the city, but for the pipeline, pump stations, reservoirs that would serve, Midwest Ag Energy and Blue Flint Ethanol.
Mm.
So within that, it would be likely that there would be some excess revenue that would be able to go into reserves,
Oh, yeah.
you know, as you're depreciating those assets
Mhm.
out.
Yep.
Quick question for Lynn. Are you expecting more rural water usage being bought from the city as things go along? Is that something we need to look at too?
Well, you know, Corey and I were visiting before we came in tonight, you know, and there's a lot of other things that are on the table that you don't see on the paper here right
Mhm.
now. You know, this carbon capture thing. You know, some of the comments that I've heard is that Washburn could, I don't want to say double in size in population, but there's going to be a lot of people coming to town. All the things that they talk about, and it's not only the carbon capture, but it's mining the rare earth metals that are in the ash and in the coal, and they're talking about a what do you call it, data processing center that could have 100 employees. So there's a lot of things, and so is McLean Sheridan going to see some growth? I would expect that there's a lot of we talked about there's probably 150, 200 lots available around town outside of the city limits that are available for housing. But that's going to be, if all of these things come to be, that's going to be a very small amount of lots that are going to be needed for new homes and for people moving to town.
Wind towers, solar possibly.
Well, there could be a lot of things, but
I was just wondering if you're expecting to buy more water from us too,
yeah,
so that we make sure we have enough capacity when we do this.
as McLean Sheridan continues to grow, and Corey and I have talked about it many times this summer, farming has changed in the last 20 years, and I always relate to, you guys all know Don Streifel out here. You know, 25 years ago, he had an old Ford pickup with a 1,000-gallon, or a 350 or 400-gallon tank, and could spray out 1,000 gallons of water in a day. That was a big day for him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, today, Jeff will go out there and spray out 12 or 15,000 gallons in one day, and that's just one sprayer. We got one farm that we serve up here that's got 4 of those big sprayers, just one operation, and so we're seeing a lot of that. So there's a lot of growth, and we're looking at how we can expand our water lines, you know, by buying more water, from the city.
Sure.
All right, so then just next section talks generally about the objectives of what we're trying to do here, and again, is just laying out to make sure that we've, you know, Midwest Ag Energy and Blue Flint Ethanol has expressed to us that they need about 215 million gallons of water a year. They're going to have I forgot a zero. They're going to have a waste disposal issue that they'll have to deal with now that currently, again, the power plant just takes care of that issue for them. They'll have about 21 million gallons of wastewater to deal with, and, you know, the desire is to dispose of that in the Missouri River.
Thank you.
To do the 215 million gallons, we're going to need to expand infrastructure in the city. To deliver that, we're going to need a pipeline, pump station, valves, reservoir, those types of things. We'd need the wastewater transmission line. And then the last part of it, the last part really talks about schedule, and right now, Blue Flint and Midwest Ag Energy are telling us October of next year is when they want service.
Yeah.
And
How did you come up with this?
And they've been saying that for a while.
they've been saying that for a while, and you'll notice in part 7 that I put in a disclaimer in there that the parties recognize that the project schedule impacts the costs, and the more aggressive schedules will result in increased. And I thought I'd put in here, the parties recognize this is an aggressive schedule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd honestly, at this point, I don't even know if we could get all the materials here
Oh, right.
by October, much less have them in the
Right,
ground
right.
and built by then. And I've certainly relayed to them, I said, there's no way on God's green earth the intake in the water plant would be
Oh, no.
expanded in
It's
that
not
timeframe.
possible, no.
So, I just, anything that I needed to put in here as a disclaimer, at least the things that I could think of, I wanted to put in here. And again, that's why I want everybody to read this, think through it, and if there's anything else that either you guys think of, your attorneys think of, that now's the time to just throw whatever.
Just above the amendments, it talks about 42% of the local cost share for the water intake.
Yep.
Now, is that before the grants or after the grants?
That is before the grants are applied.
Okay.
So the total, as we look at the total cost of the intake and what their cost share is, we would apply that.
Because that makes a big difference in numbers.
It does. I believe in, I gotta take that back. Let me double check. See what I put in here. I think I assumed we had a local cost share of $2.3 million. And the 42% was applied to that 2.3, so that, I believe, was pre-grant. So their total cost would be about $970,000 is what we're talking about. And that 2.3 million, I'd have to go back and look to see what that included, but I think that's about half of the costs for the intake.
Yeah, well, I think the intake was, well, it went up, you know, I think it was like close to 5 million or something, but you know, we've got the 2.3 from the state,
Yep.
and then another 1 million and a little bit from FEMA. And we actually have a letter into FEMA asking for some more, which you probably know that.
Yeah.
For like another, what, 1.2 million or something, or, can't remember what it is. but-
What we have to work out, Larry, is how the federal money works with the state money.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
and I've told Corey a number of times, we want to minimize, and I use the word minimize very strongly, minimize any cost to Washburn.
Right,
Yeah.
and for you too.
And, yeah, obviously, but,
Yeah.
but there's, when you bring in federal money and blend it with state money, there's always a certain amount of confusion.
Oh, okay.
So we want to work out all of that.
Don't know.
So,
You get what I'm saying?
Yes, I do, absolutely.
I mean, right now, we've got about a $5 million project, and we got 3.3 million
Yeah,
in grant. So you've got 1.7 million
okay,
of
yeah,
local cost share, so we've overstated that a little bit here.
yeah.
But in discussions with Larry and Lynn, whatever that unpaid balance of locally really would be assessed to Blue Flint, because everything that we're doing here for the city, in the absence of Blue Flint, you wouldn't, as a city, wouldn't have to expand the plant, you wouldn't necessarily have to do anything with your intake. I mean, it's an inconvenience, times like this, when you've got to set up another pump.
So are they committed to that $1.7 million then?
Well, that's what's gonna go into the agreement, so they can either be committed to it or
Or no water.
figure out what else to do.
Now, is there a timeline that they have to decide? Because if we keep pushing it off, it's just gonna keep getting longer and longer
Right,
and
yeah,
longer.
right.
So is there a date that they have set?
So they have the 1.7 million up front?
Well, that again would go into the agreements that we would have, so whatever the local cost share would be, that'd be one of the things we'd have to figure out, and that would be likely in the agreement with McLean Sheridan, that here's what we're estimating your out-of-pocket money to be, we're gonna need that deposited in an escrow account, or
So we can
where,
start building the line.
so that.
You don't wanna have 1.7 owed and not have the money
No.
for it, you know?
Absolutely not.
There's a lot of things in the mix right now. The legislature's coming to Bismarck shortly. There's $1 billion of what, CARES money or whatever they call it. And so there's a lot of people talking about how this thing could be funded. And so there's a lot of things up in the air. Would have been a lot nicer to come here and have all the right answers for you guys, but
There's no such thing as all the right
rest
answers.
assured that Corey will be working in your best interest, so.
The very next thing that is gonna happen is on Thursday, the Water Commission meets, and we do have a cost share request into them for 75% of pre-construction dollars. So that's about $850,000 that I'll say the local water utilities have worked together to throw into the pot as seed money, and go to Midwest Ag Energy and say, okay, we've got this covered, that's about 75%, you guys are gonna have a $300,000-$400,000 bill to match that, and with that money, we'll start the engineering, we'll start the legal, get the documents.
The actual construction of the carbon capture is gonna take a while, correct? So,
Rainbow's gotta take full control first.
Right.
Before anything can happen.
so, total construction on that's gonna take a while, so we probably have more time than this October 2022.
Yes.
Yes.
Because you're probably looking at least a year or 2 years to build that carbon capture,
Maybe 5.
or maybe longer, right? Because all the other carbon captures across the country have failed.
Well, not totally, but.
Not totally, but most of them.
But
Anyway,
do we have a
so-
date that we are shooting for? Just a rough estimate. Is it by the first of the year?
I would,
Um,
by the first of the year, I would like to have the agreements in final form,
Okay.
ready for signature.
So we can make a decision, so we can get started for spring.
Yep.
You know, I don't wanna wait till middle of March to make the decision
No,
to
no,
what we're doing.
Blue Flint was given 1 year, and that was what, 4 months ago? They were given 1 year to, that they could get water and heat from GRE,
Guaranteed water.
guaranteed. After that, it can be negotiated out, but they've got all these other things that are in the plans. And, Larry, you were at the meeting with us at the governor's office, and, we initially were talking, what, a 12-inch pipe? And then they went to 16, and then, one of the guys with the lieutenant governor's office asked if we'd be willing to put in a 20-inch supply line. So that's kind of where all of this discussion is. And Larry, you were at that meeting, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
that's a lot of flow.
Yeah.
7.5 million gallons a day
Yeah.
is what a 20-inch can do.
So they have a lot of plans for,
So, we don't have a lot of details as to what they're all thinking, but as we're considering, what, we're looking at for the city and things like that, we're gonna need to at least know that somebody needs to tell us what they want us to design for a flow rate, and then how does that all get paid for?
So the Blue Flint will pay us the money then for the water, or is that coming out of you guys?
They would pay them for the water,
And then they
they
pay
would
us?
pay us.
yeah, the water bill would come to McLean Sheridan, and then
McLean
we would turn
Sheridan.
around and pay Washburn.
The city actually wouldn't necessarily have to have any agreement with Midwest Ag Energy and Blue Flint,
Just with you
just
guys?
with McLean Sheridan. And then conversely, McLean Sheridan would have, an agreement with, Blue Flint, and in your agreement, there would be talk about McLean Sheridan being responsible for the costs for your improvements, and then that thing would be mirrored in the contract between, McLean Sheridan and Blue Flint.
For how many years this would go? Or if we do it 1 year, we might not get all our costs out of everything.
It's gonna be longer than a year.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
My guess is it's gonna be a 25, 30, 35-year contract agreement.
I would think so.
Well,
Mhm.
okay. I was just wondering the years of,
And if you start, Corey used the number 7.5 million gallons a day of water. That's a lot of water, and it's gonna require more manpower needs on the city's part. 24-hour monitoring,
Oh,
those
absolutely.
kinds of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a much bigger intake and a much bigger water plant, just,
And the
those
water
types of things
towers.
are, even how do you go about expanding the plant, for, if it's 500 gallons a minute, we might be able to just add on to the existing building. If ultimately we need to run 7.5 million gallons, now do we just start with a second building and have that laid out so that if you need to just keep adding trains, that it's easy to do that. And like I said, we don't have all the insight or, all the information
So-
behind that, but
The amount of flow that we're gonna provide Blue Flint, now that flow will stay steady? We won't be able to increase it then, correct?
oh, it can always be increased. With a 12-inch line, if we needed to increase that and run that hard, we're designing it for 700 gallons a minute, which is going to put it in a velocity of about half of what that pipeline could do.
Okay.
We could always double the velocity with,
Right.
at dropping in a pump station and reservoirs between here and there to get more
To
flow.
boost it up.
But that adds capital cost and obviously more energy on the operational side. So if they think they're gonna double in terms of what their capacity is, they're far better off telling us that now and paying for the capital, because they
Well,
will,
that's why I'm asking.
they will get clobbered on the operational costs.
So do you have a plan where you're gonna lay this line and everything?
We're working on it.
How big a reserve are you gonna have? If you're going through a lot of gallons a day, are you gonna have a 1-day reserve, a 2-day reserve? I was just curious.
About 3 average days for
Three,
them.
okay.
Yeah,
That's a storage that they're
Right.
talking about out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if there was an outage,
Right,
they could still operate for 3 days.
okay. Just wondering.
and Lynn promised he'd go out in the middle of winter. and fix
Exactly.
any leaks
Right.
we need to.
Chip ice
Within
on the
3
fountain,
days.
right?
Right.
I like that, that's a good idea.
Thank you.
We'll put that into the contract.
Do that.
Generally, when a 12-inch line leaks and blows apart, there isn't a lot of ice that needs
No.
to be chipped. There's a lot of mud that needs to be moved. But not that fun. Then the next parts of this just kind of get into the responsibilities. And again, this is my brain dump. Feel free to add or change any of it. You're not going to hurt my feelings by any stretch of the imagination. But the responsibilities for the city, we talk about expanding the water supply and treatment systems to produce up to 240 million gallons. And previously I talked about Midwest Ag Energy buying 215 million. The difference is we're accounting for some line breaks and losses and that type of thing in that number. I mean, we're laying out that you will, even though you're not going to pay for the improvements, you will retain ownership of all of that infrastructure. We're asking for the city, and Larry has been graciously giving of his time and coming to Bismarck for some meetings and helping with meeting with the politicians and that type of thing, and it's helpful. I mean, when you've got a grassroots effort of local people pushing for this, that goes a long way. The other part of it is just execute a water supply agreement with McLean Sheridan, and then if there's any city property that we cross with pipelines or any infrastructure, we'd ask for easements on that without
You
giving
know, this
Lynn
is
too
a
hard
pretty
time.
aggressive plan you got here. Very aggressive. For everything to come together, everything's gotta click just right,
Yep,
you know?
yep,
Not only on your end, but his end too.
yep.
Well, it's been planned for a while, so.
I know, but plans
Yeah.
change.
I know, yeah.
Well, we had hoped to be in this position almost a year ago, and I don't know how many times we met with Midwest Ag Energy in terms of an announcement, in terms of what was gonna happen. Are they closing, are they selling? And it always, well, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't say 2 weeks from when exactly. So you're right, and there's a lot of moving parts to this that, again, I'm putting the information here that I've got. But then I'm also qualifying, saying that, hey, understand that October 22 is a very aggressive schedule. And even if we could get all this stuff, you're gonna pay through the teeth,
Mhm.
you know, for that right now.
So has Rainbow been pretty easy to work with?
We haven't had any discussion, all our
So it's
conversation
all with the
Blue Flame.
ethanol plant?
Right.
Rainbow is, essentially, Ladd Erickson has had some dealings with them, but most of the dealings that they have is with the governor's office and our 2 senators at this point. And the PSC.
The next part gets into McLean Sheridan and their responsibilities of owning, operating the transmission system from Washburn to the ethanol plant, the pipeline, pump station, reservoir, whatever we'd need to do that. It talks about that they would also own the wastewater transmission system. Talks about them as project sponsor for everything, so they would be in the position of applying for any of the grants that we would be seeking for this project. I also put them as the project sponsor, being responsible for contracting for engineering services and contracting for legal services. We could break that out to where if the city wanted to have more control over the design of the water plant, that you could take that part of it and put that into the city's responsibilities.
Okay.
So, however the city's most comfortable with arranging that,
Yeah,
that can certainly be flexible if you want to.
Sure. I'm sure we could definitely figure out something that works.
Understanding it's likely going to be the same engineering company.
I know, right?
You've got,
Yeah. Yeah.
you've got the guys that you want to work with, and again, sometimes
Yeah.
it just maybe gives you a little bit more control, or at least
Yeah, I think we're all looking for the same thing here, so,
Yeah.
I mean, it should be fine.
Lynn and McLean Sheridan would acquire all the easements and rights of way. We did in our budgets, we did budget for paying for some of these easements. So that might make it a little bit easier for him, but we'll see what comes of that. Execute a water supply agreement reciprocal with the city. Execute an agreement with Midwest Ag Energy for water supply, and then also wastewater supply. And then for Midwest Ag Energy, a lot of the same type of language of entering into the agreements. Basically defining what do you want. Do you want raw, clarified, treated water?
Right.
Execute any easements that we need on their end, giving us access to build some of the infrastructure, provide that same grant funding, and then we've got basically the outline of what they're going to pay for.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that wasn't at 100% was the intake side of it, because if that were to go forward, everyone would benefit.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely,
from
I
that.
agree with that 100%, yeah.
But if this math all works out, the local cost share would, this 900,000 would cover any local cost share, unless we get even a big surprise if this gets read here.
Sure.
In the coming months. So, and that's provided the city would get that additional grant
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
from FEMA.
yeah, right.
So McLean County would not, or Sheridan would not qualify for any grants then for additions for this project then, correct?
Well, I think we would, if, we're part of that process, which gives us a step closer to having opportunities for grants. Would that be a good answer?
Yeah, there's certainly other grants out there that we would qualify for on this. The one issue that we have, the typical grants we get from the State Water Commission, their policy is going to cap us at 60% of whatever the costs are for grant. So there's a chance that even if we get additional grants, they might start pulling some money back. But
Exactly, yeah.
we will work to make sure that doesn't happen.
And you're gonna have to put additional people on then too?
Most likely. Corey.
You full-time.
Well, if all of these things that we're talking about come to be, you know, and I'm just a little older than Doc here, but, you know, I remember growing up when we were in high school, there wasn't anything going on. And then when we started building the power plants, there was just a flurry of business. And if they do come and build this carbon capture facility, that's gonna put that same flurry of business back for many of the local businesses. Be a lot of stuff happening.
Huge.
Yeah.
Well, this type of volume of water, you know, for McLean Sheridan, for the city increasing, you know, that volume. I mean, right now, when we looked at your, I guess we did use 2021, when we did that, that was the figure, what was budgeted for 2021.
Oh.
Anyway, when we looked at what your budget costs were versus what your typical volume is, and I'm assuming you probably sold more water with it being as dry as it was this year, so your actual costs were less than this, but we estimated that your actual production cost for water for everything is $10.05 per 1,000 gallons. Now, that's not what you charge because you've got base rate and other things that offset that. With adjusting all your budgetary numbers and taking your annual budget from about a $500,000 budget to a $950,000 annual budget for the additional chemical, labor, power costs, but then adding in that additional 240 million gallons of water that you produce, that $10 per 1,000 cost drops to about $3.25. So your cost, the savings, your cost of production just goes down significantly, and then the same thing for them. When you've got, in your budgets, you've got all these fixed costs, then this denominator, which is the volume of water, just gets enormous and starts, you know, dividing into those things. Your cost on a volumetric basis just plummets. So from a financial perspective on this, you know, this could be a very, very good thing for the city's water utility, and also a good thing for McLean Sheridan, because they would go from moving about 90 million gallons a year to over 300 million gallons a year. So it's not insignificant.
Yeah.
So we need to run this by David, I guess. I mean, I think it looks good, but definitely need to run it by David.
Thing you remember, this is just a memorandum of understanding, and a lot of changes are gonna probably be made between now and the final, which you'll be involved in.
Yep, absolutely. So, you presented this to Blue Flint already, or Midwest?
They have copies of this, they've seen this, so, you know, they're giving it a review.
Okay.
And just one other thing that I did as I kept going through the responsibilities to, you know, give us as much wiggle room as possible, is that in a lot of it I put the qualifier, once acceptable funding is, you know, secured.
Yeah.
So you'll keep reading that over and over between city's responsibilities and McLean Sheridan.
Right, yep.
So trying to make sure we're not committing ourselves to anything here just yet. We're not ready to do that.
Right. Well, there's too many unknowns yet, so.
Once that's taken care of then and it's all figured out, you'll be able to put addendums on there for change in cost of pricing and stuff that as it goes up and stuff?
Yep.
Or something else that comes up that we don't have the money allotted for?
That's pretty standard for the agreements that we put in there. That is just standard language in water supply agreements now. Is to
Okay.
put the true up and, you know, those other types of things to, you know, just protect everybody as best we can.
Good.
Something eventually will come up. I don't know what it is, but something somewhere along the line will surprise us.
Blue Flint has said they wanna move forward with this. You know, what we need is a drop dead day that they sign on the bottom line, and then it goes from talking to happening, so.
Yeah. And Tim, I know these guys know, but, you know, we do have a water plant already designed, so that doesn't have to be designed. But I'm thinking, if they want more water, we might have to increase our pump size of those.
The pump size or the pipeline
And the
across the
pipeline
river.
too,
So,
yeah, so, I mean,
and there could be some,
And the discharge as well.
yes.
Because if they put a 20-inch or whatever we probably don't have to match that under the river, whatever, you know.
At least, if not one size bigger,
Right.
because that 20-inch serves whatever's going that way, and then we still have the city
right,
and McLean Sheridan, you know, demands, and if This is the tricky part, and I dealt with this up in northwest North Dakota when the boom hit, is if these things are real, how big is it gonna get and how many people are going to come and who can help us answer that question?
Right.
Because if we're gonna put a line across, put an intake on that side and bring a line across, I'd really rather not have to come back in 5 years and do that again. I mean,
You don't?
I'd really
Oh.
rather not have to. do
You're never gonna make money at that rate.
Well, that's okay, there'll be other ways to make money rather than looking, very short-sighted.
Exactly.
Corey is fully aware of the ups and downs of the river. He's actually been working, for the last 7, 8, 9 years on that, Red River Valley water supply line.
Oh, okay.
It's half a mile south of where I live, along the river down there. And Corey's been heavily involved in that process, so.
So you're a star then, huh?
I wouldn't go that
Rising star.
We'll see if it all works when it's done.
Anybody have any more questions around this or anything? You just explained it really well,
Good to see you.
so I'm glad, I thank you for coming
See
out.
you.
So,
Well,
yeah.
appreciate the invite, and so Thursday is a big day, and, then after that, things will really start
okay.
to get real unless Blue Flint comes back and says, no, we can slow down a little bit.
So when all this starts, one of you two guys are gonna be following this project pretty tight then? He will. Well, you're pointing at each other. Well, eyes on projects are really important, other than the engineers actually doing it.
Right, and
Well, Lynn and I will be
Yeah.
watching this fairly closely.
But AA2S has a fleet of guys that'll be.
We can only
that will be
split you
working
so
on it.
far.
I got lots of extra life.
yeah, we've got all the technical expertise to do the engineering, the financial analysis, and those types of things, and we'll provide that. But all, these types of, long-term agreements, we really need the involvement of you guys and Lynn and his board and the people. You guys are the ones that have to look at these things and decide what you can live with, what's right for the city. Like I said, I did a brain dump. That's all that is.
This is exciting stuff,
It
you know what?
It is.
Because it's a big change coming for the city of Washburn.
Yeah.
And I think this is fabulous for the town.
It
Really,
is,
really.
very much so.
Very much so.
The whole area, absolutely.
And we just gotta be big enough to do it for the whole area, not limit ourselves
Oh, yeah.
just to Washburn, but for the whole area.
Yep.
That's,
But at the same time, make sure it's financially responsible and not committing the city to, infrastructure that it can't afford or take care of. And
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks,
Okay,
guys.
I'll go to talk to the guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we got Wayne. What's your last name? Rosiska?
Yeah.
That's close.
Well, it's close. If you ask me how to spell it, I'll say
Hope you got
nope.
pizza in there.
What?
Hope you got pizza in there.
No. I'm, Wayne Rosiska from Wilton. I'm an entrepreneur, an inventor. I have developed, solar-powered equipment, wastewater treatment equipment for the last 30 years. And in 2012, I sold my company to an international company. And a couple of years, I was going to retire. I have a lot of fruit trees in my place, and I was going to retire. But as it may be, a company came back to me and said, we'd like you to develop solar-powered equipment for a third world country, Mexico. And so I used my expertise and knowledge and experience building other solar-powered equipment and developed a product. We've spent about $1 million over the last 4 or 5 years in product development, prototyping, and this sort of thing. And we're getting ready to release it. We were going to do it earlier this year, but we had difficulties in the communication system. We need to overcome when we switched from a radio system to a cellular system. And I'm here, we're looking for prototype places where we can install equipment at no charge to the city. And give you a 1-year trial and prove it to you. And then if you want to buy the equipment, you'll buy it at 50% off, less price. And there's no requirement on the city, with the exception that over to help us lift it into the lagoon as opposed to, trying to manhandle it. I've manhandled them, I put them in the water, manhandled them. That was in freshwater, not wastewater.
You're not getting any younger.
No, exactly. I've got a 3D model here, that's what this is, not pizza.
Need help getting it out?
No. That's what it would look like. It's, 3 solar panels, okay?
Okay.
This is the entire upper part, we call turtle dome, is rotor molded, and then the solar panel here. We can lift it up like this so we can get in access to the batteries and to the other parts. The control panel, these are floats, of course, and then have your intake structure. The frame's all stainless steel. And it floats on the pond, we tie it shore to shore. Okay? Just, but we use 3 solar panels because we can't tell from one day to the next which way the sun's going to turn and which one. And so we have a communication system in here. In the past, solar powered equipment, even the stuff that I developed years ago, just went out there and ran. We turned the propeller and made it work. It made water quality improvements dramatically throughout the pond. However, there was no documentation of what the equipment did. So we developed the communication system in here, so that's cellular, so we can tell you at any time what the dissolved oxygen is and what the flow is on the unit, how much what the water quality is all the way throughout, the temperature of the water, and we give a monthly report. The operator gets a monthly report showing all the water quality data, the status of the batteries, the status of the charging system, all of those sorts of things. Those are all critical performance data that have been missing in other solar-powered equipment. We're, let me see. Here's some potential benefits to the city. Better quality of effluent, or water quality, and also water quality to the secondary pond is going to be in better quality. We'll increase the dissolved oxygen in the pond, the top third of the pond, or top half of the pond, and that's going to help control odors. Can't get rid of odors completely, but we can dramatically reduce them. And I've got a lot of experience in doing that, and I know it'll happen. If it doesn't, you're still not out anything. We're going to keep the pond open later in the fall and open it up earlier in the spring. So you get a longer processing season, because when you're moving water, okay, I don't care how cold it gets. We've got it down in San Antonio, or Yanktonio Dam, and I'll give you pictures and show you. We had it running there last winter. So when you're moving water, it doesn't freeze, or it freezes at a lot less level. So there's an ice collar in there so that we can keep it running all year long.
So you leave it in all winter long?
Oh, you leave it in all winter long, yeah. And that's why I said earlier we were going to try and release earlier this year, and I'd have been up here earlier this year, but now we're in the crunch time. We got to try and get it in before it does freeze, because sliding them out on the ice is not fun. It doesn't work very well. But we'll keep the pond open later in the fall, earlier in the spring. A longer processing season means that you can get better water quality come spring when you transfer from your primary to your secondary pond. We're going to stabilize that sludge blanket. I don't know how bad the odors were here this last year, okay, because I didn't come up to Washburn much. My wife does, but, there's a couple of farmers that have talked to me and said, Wayne, they got to have one of these in Washburn because it stinks up there. Well, okay.
Well, I mean, once the ice comes off.
When the ice comes off, yeah.
Absolutely.
And where this is going to benefit is that in that period when the ice comes off and the warmer water, the water switches, okay?
Yeah.
When that warmer water comes up, it's coming from right off the bottom. And those bugs have been active all winter long, and you're going to get a lot of release of gases. We're going to vent it off a lot of gases during the winter time when people are in their houses and the odor is not so bad. So you're going to end up with less odors, shorter period of odors, but more importantly, less intense odors. And not the eye burning stuff, just, you know, more of the earthen odor. There's no service needs. We take care of all the service. City's not obligated to do anything except give us the data on what water is going in, and I'll work with the operator and find out, okay, last month he had to report to the state his DMR. I'll just take a copy of that and say, okay, this is what we were dealing with, okay? And then we can give them a report as to what the equipment provided. One of the things that we're going to identify with this and having trial installations like yours is how much we can increase that lagoon's capacity. Based on prior experience, we're going to increase the capacity of that lagoon to treat wastewater 3 to 5 times. So what will happen then is that with the influx and the new industry and stuff that comes in here, you're going to have buffer capacity in there so that you can plan better what kind of needs, or the engineer can plan better what kind of needs you have to have, how much bigger of a lagoon and this sort of thing. You don't know that now because that lagoon has not been accelerated, it's not been improved. We're going to turn over the top half of that lagoon every 3 to 5 days. We're going to continually be putting a new surface on there every 3 to 5 days. So that means that you're going to get, instead of a 6-acre lagoon, you're going to get the impact of or the processing capacity of a 15 to 20-acre lagoon, because you got that much more water on the surface. One of the visible things that you will see is that, and you can't see it now out there today, at least, because the wind was really good and it had good wind and wave action. But I've been by here several times, and it's still as a, you know, it's just flat. That's because of fog. Not fog that you can see out here, but fats, oils, and grease that are in the wastewater stream, and they're floating on the lagoon, and they're preventing it from absorbing oxygen or releasing gases. So we're going to put that in suspension, the same with algae. We're going to control the algae. I can't say how much, okay, because there's too many variables in there, but if you're digesting more waste, which we will do, just because there's more oxygen, there's going to be less food for the algae. Algae is a plant. It's not a bastard, it's a plant, okay? And if you can control its food source, you can control the amount of algae that you've got. So, the water level will be right about here, about 2/3 of the way up on the float. And this dish here will be about 1 inch below the surface.
Okay.
So when we're pulling water up, we're pulling water from this level real slow, okay? Less than a foot per second, into the unit, through the throat, and delivering it back out on top. It's as simple as, well, like the human heart, okay? The heart pumps blood from your toes, which is all, the oxygen's already out of it, up to your lungs, across the thin film, and pumps it back. All we're doing is drawing oxygen-deficient water from the lower level to the surface and spreading it out and allowing it to be absorbed. So you get a real robust, for lack of a better term, oxygen transfer, oxygen level throughout the lagoon.
How much depth do you need, how much water depth do you need for that?
Want to have at least 3.5 feet.
Oh, okay, so 3.5 feet from the top of the water to the bottom.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly,
okay,
yeah. And if we got more, that's great, okay?
Right.
But right now, I think your lagoon is down a little bit, okay, because you've transferred and getting ready to, for your fall.
Winter storage, yep.
Yeah, exactly,
Yep,
to
yep.
base your storage. It might be a little bit dicey to get it in a place where there isn't a sludge mound, but that's something we'll observe when we get there and say, okay, hey, we gotta put it in over here. Gradually, we can move it in closer to the influent, because that's where we wanna be, is close to the influent, because that's the warmest water, okay?
Right.
And that's the most productive water for treatment.
No filters involved in this,
No filters, nothing, no,
no maintenance.
no maintenance.
One unit
One unit.
for our size pond is
E-
fine, okay.
Exactly, yeah, you're about 6 acres, maybe a little bit short of that, but, on your primary pond. We're going to turn that over, like I said, every 3 to 5 days.
How big is the unit compared to this one?
This is 1/12. So
So-
it's 16 feet across.
Shoot, it's pretty good size.
Yeah,
That's good, yeah.
So do the,
weighs about 900 pounds.
excuse me, the
Yep.
solar panels, are they pretty effective if we get some really heavy overcast days for several days?
Yeah, we've got about 3.5 days of production in there. The, for the batteries.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to explain this to people sometimes, but the sun shines every day. The day the sun don't shine, don't worry about it, you were a block of ice the night before. But, and I don't want to sound that, it's not arrogant, it's just that you can get an awful sunburn on a cloudy day. Solar panels just capturing the sun, okay? And you're gonna have sun every day. It may not be enough to charge the batteries all the way back up, but at least you're gonna have sun.
Are you picking up any of the reflection off the water? Because a lot of times there's a lot coming,
Absolutely.
you know, off of there, and I was just wondering how that,
You are right on. What we find is that we'll have one panel facing south, okay? But there will be days in which the reflection from the snow onto this panel may be producing as much as this one facing the sun. And you never know.
Yeah.
You just never know, and you don't really care, because we have the residual in there to make it work. And the thing that we're finding about cellular is that when cellular has a heavy use on it, okay, this is data collection, and that drops off before voice. Voice takes precedence on the cellular towers. So you can have it on, I've got 4 of these sitting in the lagoon in Sydney, Montana, and they're just sometimes early in the morning when the plant's starting up, the street plant, we lose cellular communication. But then half hour later, it's on. So, you know, and that's just the same thing with the one down at Yanktoney Lake. That's a private lake, and let me show you.
How much are these things?
Find out in a little bit.
There's always that question.
No, believe me, it was on my mind.
It was.
Pardon?
I just told him, it was on my mind. You know,
Yeah.
We'll get it eventually, you know.
40 grand. Okay?
For one unit.
For one unit, yep. And
Does
if,
that include the maintenance for a year or something? Or
yes, it does, yeah.
lithium ion batteries?
No, because they
Okay.
don't handle the cold as well as.
Yeah, I just checking, you know. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
what problems we could have if something leaks into the water,
Yeah.
you know,
These are lead acid, they're,
Okay.
absorbed glass now, they're, you know, I got a lot more problems than being concerned about it sinking, okay? It just, you know, I've got a lot of extra flotation on there. If there's an ice storm and it's covered with ice, it's gonna handle it. It just,
Okay, sure.
you know, because we calculated the surface area and said we could have 2.5 inches of ice on the whole thing. Well, that's an awful lot of weight.
So if it needs maintenance in the middle of winter, how the hell do you get to it then?
That's why we developed all of the integral systems in here to communicate and find out. We can tell exactly whether it's a battery that's bad or whatever. And if it's a battery that's bad, that can happen, okay? We replace it, we're taking care of it. We found at Yankton that the best way is if we had to go out to it and work on it in the middle of the winter, with several bags of ice made it real easy. Bags of salt, because then we could free it up and we could work on it. But, you know, we think we've solved the problem that throws it in on Yankton. I think there's a Yankton picture in there in the brochure.
Well, you got one in Wilton here, is that the Yankton one, or is that?
It's the one at
is
Yankton, yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So our size lagoon would use one of these, is that correct? or-
Based on what I know so far,
Okay.
you've got about 1,300 people in the city, okay?
Yes.
Somewhere in that neighborhood, okay? That would mean a flow of 130,000 gallons a day or better, okay? Somewhere.
Maybe.
Yeah, and the waste load on the city is about 30 to 35 pounds of BOD per acre per day.
Okay.
And we can handle probably up to 200
Okay.
pounds. So we've got, you know, 3-4 times as much. You're on the leading edge. Eventually, the state's going to have you, or require you to build another lagoon or something like that if your flow gets up too much more.
Yeah.
This may, you know, if you can prove to them that you can treat more waste, well, then you've got the advantage over them, and
Right.
you've got the argument back and say, hey, we don't need to build another lagoon. We've got treatment capacity
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So you said you'd install this for what, 6 months or a year, what was it?
We put it in this fall as soon as we can get here, and we'll leave it for a year.
For a year, okay, 1
For a
year.
year, no cost to the city, with the
Okay.
exception, we'd like to have the city guy run the backhoe so we can lift it and.
Well, we'd figure out a way to get it in there.
Yeah, exactly. I've done it with farmhands, I've walked them in, but that isn't fun.
No. Okay, and then after a year, if we like it, then it'd be half price.
Half price, then it'd be 20, yeah. And I can rent it to you at that point or whatever. These are units that we've got in inventory right now that we've prepped and got ready to go, so that it would be in before the 1st of November, maybe next week.
I am really thinking this could really be a game changer, because, man, in the spring,
Does it stink?
How long do
but-
they last?
Pardon?
How long do they
I
last?
got a life expectancy of 20 years. It's all, the solar panels have a 30-year life expectancy. And the rotational molded, this is plastic, it's not going anywhere anytime ever. And the stainless steel's the same. The motor, the batteries, probably got 3 to 5 years, okay?
Yeah.
They're commercially off the shelf, you can buy them down at Interstate Battery, you don't have to get a special connection to them or anything like that. We won't let you get into that control panel, simply because there's too many things fat fingers can get in the way. We just, that's ours, and
No, you shouldn't touch what you don't understand.
pardon?
Right. You shouldn't touch what you don't understand.
Well, that's exactly right, but there are people, like our guy out in Ridley, California, well, I know how this works, because I've got a solar-powered car. Totally different, you know,
What voltage are you running?
24-volt panels.
Okay.
24-volt panels and a 24-volt charging system. The panels are run up to about 30 volts, so they're moving, you know, we can get them up to that much.
Yeah.
So, another interesting thing about solar power that 99% of the people, and even those that sell solar, don't understand. North Dakota is ripe for solar panels. Because in the wintertime, okay, we're cold. Those panels are far more efficient in cold than they are in heat. And we can get out of a solar panel in the wintertime better than what a lot of people have always envisioned. They look at North Dakota and they look at the hours per day. You know, we've only got about 4.5 hours per day of solar charging capacity in the wintertime. Oh, yeah, but that'll never keep the batteries charged. Yeah, but during that 4.5 hours. We're about much better, more efficient at charging than in Arizona in the sun where it's 114 degrees.
Yeah, but they don't look at solar panels for North Dakota
No.
because we have such limited sunlight
Yes.
in the off-seasons.
Yeah, and that's true. That's why you've got to be very, very efficient in what you're using the solar for. To run a solar-powered plant to produce electricity in North Dakota is just never going to be feasible. It's going to be a long time before that's feasible. But to run a 1/12 horsepower motor, we can do it.
Okay, another question, you know, sometimes during the summer when it gets really, really hot,
Yep.
like we had this summer where the sun is out and blazing,
Yeah.
will that sun affect those solar panels?
No.
Because some solar panels are rated at so much temperature.
Yeah, exactly. We're well below that. I'm putting them in Mexico and in Southern California and in Arizona. And I get the panels out of Arizona. The motor comes out of Minnesota. One of the things that is unique here is that we're over water, and there's a cooling effect. And when you're moving water around it, you've got a cooling. We don't even have to put a fan inside our motor control center to keep it cool, because we've already proven that we can run it 110 degrees, 115 degrees.
So how does it breathe then?
Huh? Well, there's air in there, but I mean, it's, you know, it's,
Biggest problem is the batteries.
Yep.
You know, that's your biggest
that's the biggest.
nightmare, whether it's hot or cold, it's the batteries.
Yeah, exactly. The solar is, you know,
Looks pretty damn nice.
So my question, I guess, you know, you get a big ice storm that, you know, I'm assuming the sun would just melt that off there
Oh, yeah.
eventually, or?
It's amazing what you'll find out when the snow falls. I had 11 inches of snow on solar panels in just west of Bozeman, Montana, and I still had solar energy coming in.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was still running, and that was with 11 inches of snow on it. So it's surprising. It's kind of intuitive. It's like, or counterintuitive. That
Okay. You know, to move this along, man, I mean, I've heard enough to convince me that I think we should try this.
I do too.
I mean, how can you go wrong? Go ahead, Tim.
You probably said this already, what is the warranty if we buy it?
if the warranty if you buy it is 3 years.
Okay, and we would end up purchasing the one that would already be in there?
Yeah, or another one too.
My point is though, is that if you put it in for a year, does that take a year out of the warranty, or do we get?
No, the warranty would start when you purchase it. Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah,
Good point.
yeah, exactly. No, that's a good point. These are made in Wilton, okay? And
They're made where?
In Wilton,
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
Wow, now we gotta do it.
Cameras, I thought I saw a spot in here. It says
Yeah.
site cameras. Do you have cameras on these?
We don't, I didn't plan it on this
Okay,
one.
oh, no, I just saw it in here. was just-
I do have it on the one at Yankton,
Okay.
okay? It's not up on the web yet or anything like that, but our website,
How deep is the one, before you get off of that, how deep is the one at Yankton that you got there?
they've only got about 8 feet in there, 8 feet of water in there. Maybe 10 in a full pool.
And you put that in when?
We put that in 3 years ago.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
And it's still doing good?
Yeah. Outside of we have a couple battery problems that we, you know.
Yeah. Batteries-
That's why it's so tight, that's why we're putting them in 3 years to prove.
I have to look it up.
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up. You know, the only thing is, when you did, I guess my only concern is, you know, we try and get as low as we can in the fall.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
for,
Yep.
you know, storage.
Yep.
But, if you only, we say you only need like
3
feet,
Yeah,
so
I'm guessing you've got probably a 4 foot.
I'm thinking,
You
yeah.
probably got 4 foot. It may be 4 foot on the south end and a little bit less than that up towards the north end where the influent end.
You've seen where the influence comes in?
I have,
You drive
it's been
by,
a
you
long
see.
time, yeah.
But I know where it's at, but the thing is, you know, where the influent is, there's gonna be more stuff because it's
Yeah,
built up
exactly.
around
Yeah.
there, which you understand. And, so we might have to just move it over a little bit.
Move it over a little bit. The thing about it is that when you put this in, okay, you're changing the dynamics of the bacteria and the biology in that pond, okay?
Mhm.
It's gonna burp. It's gonna stink for a day, 2.
Well, yeah,
You
you're
know,
stirring it up, absolutely.
You're changing
Absolutely.
things, yeah. You're gonna make it better. It cannot make it worse,
Right,
but for a couple of days, there can be an odor event,
oh, yeah,
okay?
yeah.
And somebody's gonna say, well, they put that thing out in the lagoon and made everything stink. Okay,
Now,
It's just like the
Go
aerator.
ahead, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
I just, before I forget, Larry, so there's nothing out there now, they're just ponds, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's
yeah,
right.
yeah, there's nothing. Ponds are designed, were originally organized and developed by the EPA in North Dakota. McIntosh, North Dakota, and east of Turtle Lake, I forget the name of the town. I've got it in my book. But those were the first
McCluskey?
two, huh?
McCluskey?
McCluskey is one of them, yeah, McCluskey, and then McIntosh, I think. And those two ponds, those two treatment systems, okay, were actually developed and approved for funding by the EPA in 1953. In 1953, they said you had to have 2 ponds in series, and you had to have 180 days of retention time in them, so that, because they could only discharge in the fall at that time, okay? Now, there's all kinds of variables in that, but lagoons were developed, and the EPA started following the guidelines that West Van Heuvelin and an engineering firm from Fargo, or from Grand Forks, developed. And I've got all of their original papers that they presented to the EPA in 1957, 1983, all the way through all the different years. I've been a student of lagoons. Don't tell me I like, but
I hope
this is
you
all
don't
I
go
do.
swimming in them.
Yeah, exactly. I did go swimming down in Arizona, in Mexico. That was an experience. But tequila will kill most anything. But I didn't go swimming. I got dunked in, but, you know, that happens.
But we need to move on, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think it sounds great. I will, make the motion that we, do the, 1-year trial.
I'll second that motion.
I just have one quick
Yes,
question
go
for
ahead.
you, Larry. Do we have a way to, that we're monitoring now what our capacity and what our, how well our lagoon is doing, so that we would have data of our own to see whether this would
Basically, what we have is,
prove itself?
you know, we could go through all of our discharge, because we always have to do a sample when we discharge, and that's what we would use
Okay.
as our
Yeah.
data.
Yeah, just so that we would have our own
Yeah.
independent data.
And
whether
we
it's
keep,
working or not.
we keep those for years and years and years.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we'd
Yeah.
have to do that. We wouldn't know our exact flow coming in, we can
Right.
just guesstimate that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but what-
guess
but
whether
the-
we're increasing our efficiency from our standpoint
Right.
as an independent study versus.
Yeah, and now, and I think that would show up in our samples, you know.
Exactly. What I'm gonna hope for to get with your operator is
Mhm.
the past 3 years of what's called DMRs, or daily monitoring reports. Because every day they're supposed to, okay? But generally, they'll do it once a month. They go out there and write dates down of the elevation of the lagoon and all
We don't
those
do
sorts
that.
of things.
We don't do that,
Huh?
we don't do that.
I know, but, okay, well, whatever. Whatever he's got for me, okay?
Okay.
Because he's getting by with the state, I'm not gonna interfere with that.
No.
So,
So
Well-
if this thing sucks anything up, say from the, I take it this thing has got pretty good suction on it.
really doesn't.
It does.
But, here's what is going to happen, okay? I have seen them where they brew, we had them in the lagoon, and carpet tiles came floating up. Yeah, okay? It's designed with a screen so that you can't get things into the impeller and get it wrapped around or whatever, and if it starts using too much energy, we're gonna know it because we're monitoring that.
Right.
But it's not gonna put things in suspension. It's real slow,
Okay,
but a lot of it.
that's what I was wondering, suspension.
It's, yeah, we're moving less than a foot per second, and that's, you have to
Yeah.
have a foot per second to have things in suspension.
Yeah, okay, yeah, like I said, moving on, you know,
Yep.
but anyway, we have a motion in a second, so are we ready to vote?
Yep.
Okay, Don?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, just, you know, I'm sure you have a contract we need to sign, and,
Yes,
you
I'll-
can get a hold of the office and whatever, and then we'll get that taken care of, or,
Yeah,
you know, however
I'll
you
get it
wanna
up
do
here in a couple of days.
Yeah, that'd be perfect, so.
And,
I mean, this sounds really exciting to me, it really does. You know, 'cause we know what the lagoons are like, you know, so,
you mean, you're not one of those that thinks they don't, their butt
yeah,
don't
we do,
stink?
yeah, ours does think so. Well, thank you, Wayne, I sure appreciate that.
You bet.
Um,
I'll be
Are
back.
you checking with other towns too?
Yes.
Because
I only
Hazen
got
needs
so
it
many
too.
free ones, and one of the reasons I wanted to get this one is because the aesthetic view of the river and having it there, okay? That's a marketing, that's where I'm coming from. Okay?
Yeah, you can see the lagoon.
Yeah, exactly, right along the highway. People are gonna ask, I'm gonna get called, and we can talk on that.
cool. Yeah, good.
And we're, you know, in the agreement, I'll put in something in there that we're allowed to market the information, not the loading or any violations, or anything like that, just the operational information.
Yeah, you got your name on there, so people see it, right? You're
Yeah, I'm
good?
gonna put
Okay.
something probably on the gate,
Okay. that's what I'm
and
gonna
just so people can drive up there and say, yeah.
And if you take pictures, take it that this gentleman up there, hold the sign with your.
Okay, anything else for Wayne?
No.
Okay, thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, next, Keith Jacobson, I met with him this morning. They are adjusting their, you know, we had an issue where they were put the dugouts. They're doing some remodifications, so they're adjusting it so they will keep the required distance from the road.
6 foot.
That was agreed to, yes. So that's all been taken care of, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
We'll be back in a couple days.
okay, special assessment assistance. Chelsea,
Every year, we get a couple different of the special assessment assistance applications. It helps with their water and sewer specials if they are low income where they can't afford to pay them. Based on their income, and this comes from a website too, based off where median household income is for the year, and then however household members are in there, whether you can qualify for 60%, 40%, or 30%. In there, I have the parcel number here listed with what qualifying special they are and their amount. So this year, for the assistant program, it is $517.12 that the city would essentially be paying for the special.
That's it.
There were a couple of them that got paid off last year, so
Oh,
that helps.
okay. So we need a motion.
move. Second. Further discussion? Don?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes. What am I at here? Western Frontier and fire policy. So, so Chelsea, I guess, you pick it up. This one.
Okay, so we had gone over this, and then we had gotten the new proposed recommendations and changes that were involved in there for a couple of these buildings, which would increase the estimate change in premium would be that $736.39 with over $2 million in increased coverage. These are the buildings that were going on. I know there was a couple different questions that I had asked Todd and gotten answers to, and then I forwarded emails off to you guys helping with depreciation, the contents of the building, and all that that you guys had. So now I guess we need to decide if we want to increase all these buildings to cover this, if we want to only increase a couple of them, or stay with the initial invoice that we received so that we can get them paid.
Well, you know, we got the green building, which obviously we want to take on. I mean, that's-
Yep, and that's coming off, that's off that 3793, we're removing that.
And then my big question was the compound building, you know, they had it listed at, increased to $3.5 or $350,000. Well, they listed that as a machine storage building, not a pole building. And there's a difference between $28 a square foot and $86 a square foot. So, it's a pole building, you know.
And you can see an explanation as to why it wasn't listed as a pole building in the email I do of.
Or what I listed as, yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, it doesn't have a concrete floor in that, I mean, it's just a pole building, you know. And believe me, it's not worth, you know, $350,000.
So previous to this year, it was listed as a pole building then?
I don't think so.
So
I don't think it was. They had gone around and were updating a lot of their physical, or just like visually from the outside,
Right.
going around and updating a lot of them, because across the state there were a lot of buildings that were understated.
okay.
So they're looking to increase the coverage. So these are our buildings that they went and got, with this compound building being one of them. We can reject that and keep it as what it is now.
Okay.
Well, the pole building was valued at $268,000.
Right.
Yes.
I don't
And
know,
they're
what's the cost to build a
recommending-
pole building? Doesn't cost that much.
Depends how big it is.
Not even close to that.
No.
Not that size.
No. So I think it's been way overvalued for so long. You know, and really, it's been there for so long, you know, you're not gonna get $368,000 if a tornado takes it away.
Maybe 50,000, 100,000?
No, right?
That's not a whole lot.
I mean, I would think, and that's just the building, it's not anything that's in it, correct?
Correct.
I mean, I think that can be dropped way down.
I think we should reject that, or
Take it down to about 150,000.
Well, we should take it down to what we think it's worth, I guess, right? We can pick what we want, right? Kinda.
Do you want to take it down to what you think it's worth as an existing building or a replacement cost if it did blow away? Because you would still want to replace it, correct?
Well, we would want to, yeah.
And that's where,
And that's where we run into, you know, what are they gonna pay? They're gonna pay the replacement cost or actual cash value?
Right.
And I don't think we ever did get a complete answer on that, did we?
where
Or,
does that say?
Because we'd be better off going lower and saving the money, because if we redo it, we wouldn't probably build just a full building anyway.
It says with all the buildings, you start with the replacement cost. That is the cost today to replace the insured building. When the building is insured, you have a choice of either replacement cost or actual cash value. To qualify for replacement cost, the building has to be insured for the current replacement cost. The building also has to be in good condition, and age of the building becomes a factor in qualifying for replacement cost.
It's listed
Well,
as replacement cost in here.
Huh?
It's listed as replacement cost.
Right, but it's still prorated. They
It's
can give
prorated.
But it's still prorated.
You're better off keeping the value low, because we're gonna build something better or bigger at the time that it disappears. And it may never disappear.
But see, that's where it's really confusing, is because
Very confusing.
there's a difference between cash value and replacement cost. Replacement cost basically replace the building, but then it says they can depreciate it. It
Yeah.
makes no sense.
So these guidelines are coming from MDRF and not from the insurance agency?
This,
The underwriter.
this is,
Yep, yeah.
North Dakota Insurance Reserve?
is this the insurance reserve,
Yes.
or is this the, okay, yeah, it is, okay.
Well, North Dakota Fire and Tornado.
Fire and tornado, yeah.
Okay.
So it's coming from their underwriter.
Okay.
Yeah, so, well, it's insane to keep it at, you know, at $268,000, I mean, obviously. I mean, it can't, I would say
130? Cut it in half?
130 at the most,
Cut it in half?
wouldn't,
Because if they prorate it, it's still gonna be less than what the replacement cost is gonna be,
Right.
right?
Because all you're talking is poles and pins.
Yeah.
You're not talking much of anything else, a little electrical.
You guys, we have no idea what the savings would be, because they upped it
We have no
by
idea.
80,000 for $100.
Right, I'd
Is
have
that
to
right?
get a,
So if we dropped it in
New
half, would we
quote.
save $125 too? I don't know, it's really,
no, that's what the premium would be, right? If they don't up it by that much, that's what the whole premium is, correct?
I thought these were the increases in premium. Is that what that is?
Yeah, the
Oh,
compound-
estimated change in premium,
the
oh.
compound
You're right.
building is
That a-
increasing
you're
by
right, that is a
$100.
change.
Right.
Correct, yeah.
So I guess my point was, if you,
Yeah.
just doing the simple math, that they went up 80,000 approximately for $100. If we if we dropped half of the value of the building, we'd just be saving,
It should be.
$20 maybe.
or whatever, 120 bucks.
Well, we should be saving basically the same thing going the other way. But,
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, you'd save 220 bucks probably.
right.
Yeah.
I think we need to lower that down to, I don't know, what, 130? I mean, I don't know. Sounds logical to me.
Yeah, realistically, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it's not gonna cost that much to replace it, you know.
And they're not gonna pay more than that.
No, they're gonna prorate it because it's old.
Right. And the thing is, I mean, if, the thing is, like the airport, the fuel tank and all that stuff, I mean, that stuff's all brand new, so that's, you know, that's pretty much stays where it's at. Memorial Hall, I mean, we added a lot of stuff to it.
Did you ever find out about the concrete for the Memorial Hall?
That don't matter. That usually don't.
No, it don't matter.
Don't matter.
So equipment storage, that's the one across the street that way, I'm guessing?
That's straight across the street from me if it's 821.
Yeah, that's the address of that one.
This one, is that the one?
What's in that building?
I just saw
Fire
equipment.
Yep,
storage, 820.
yep, that's the one that's right over here.
Right.
Yep, right across from you.
Because I'm 820.
I'm not
Yep.
That's the 168,000 one? Equipment storage, right? That
Yes.
we're talking equipment? Okay.
Yes.
That seems high too, for the size.
Well, it was at 78. You never replaced it, you never
So,
rebuilt it for 78, but.
So are they estimating these things because the, the price of steel has gotten so high? You know, maybe we could get an opinion from maybe Newly on what, for instance, what a pole barn would cost that size,
Right.
to make sure that we aren't underestimating ourselves here.
Yeah.
Would you want to finalize this so you can make a payment, is that right, Chelsea?
I would like to, yeah.
Okay.
Only
We've
'cause
been
it's
sitting
been
on
a
this a
couple
while.
months, yeah.
So,
Okay, I'm sorry.
yeah, we have a deadline.
Yep.
I guess for right now, I would say drop the green building, lower that one to 130,
And then leave the
and
rest.
then leave the rest. That's my opinion anyway. I
Number
don't know.
12?
Huh?
Number 12 there,
Yeah.
compound building?
Yeah. Everybody sound good with that?
Yeah,
I'll motion that.
because the cost of steel is actually dropping.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Don?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And then, next time, you know, we can look at it a little bit closer, so. Parking ordinance discussion, so I wrote a new parking ordinance,
I would have loved you here.
what?
Said, excuse me, I said,
Oh, okay.
our own private discussion.
So did everybody have a chance to review that? Everybody read through it? We really need to do something different. Parking is getting to be just horrid in this town.
Horrid.
Has everybody read this? That's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, you read it?
Mm-hmm.
Right. What does everybody think? I know there's one thing, about, I got one thing here. It shall be unlawful, number 9, to park on snow emergency routes designated by the city of Washburn, or the Washburn City Commission. We haven't designated them yet. Anytime between, it says the beginning of snowfall until the snow has finished and the street has been satisfactorily plowed of snow. We need to change the wording on that to like significant snowfall, you know? This is just a draft, by the way. This is, you know, this is a working draft. So that's one thing I want to change. And then the other one, it has to do with like, should be unlawful to park, at least on any street, avenue, blah, blah, blah. You know, vehicle, trailer, camper, boat. We need to put in there, and have the pop-outs out on the camper. That needs to be added.
They need to be in, yeah.
And, exactly, but then at the same time, we need to determine, you know, it says for a period longer than 72 hours, except on Main and 7th Street, which is 24 hours. Is 72 hours what we want? You know, that's 3 days.
Right, but the problem is with some of these campers, these guys are bringing them in all summer long, and they go in and out a couple times, but they're sitting there all the time.
I know.
Yeah, and it's one of those, if we do 72 hours, well, I moved it once, you know. I don't know.
Well, the thing is, I mean, but we'll know.
I don't have a problem with people parking there, you know, if they use the thing every couple of weeks and they go.
Right.
It's a little different story. But once it's there in the spring, it might get used a day, and in the fall, there's no fighting, you know.
They move it out of their yard, or they have it stored for the winter,
Yeah,
and then move it into the street. Then they move back into their yard again in the winter. So that camper never leaves any area,
yeah.
in a residential area.
But,
is the
but
problem.
it also has here, you know, you gotta, you know, you park, you gotta be part of your own house, you can't be part of somebody else's house, you know, and, you know, the thing is, you gotta give them time to load their camper,
Mhm.
get everything
Yep.
ready. And the thing is, it says 72 hours. If it's 96 hours, we don't care, you know, it's just, we gotta set a time,
Yeah,
you know.
because before it was, what was it?
48
20
hours,
Yeah, it was 24 on Main and
right,
48 otherwise.
yeah.
So you're increasing the 48 to 72.
Yeah, because some people need to
No,
clean
I-
it and, you know, load it up and then when they want to clean and stuff like that, so.
So is this gonna include all trailers included?
Yeah,
Okay. 'Cause there's an area right over there where the trailers set up all year round.
And boats and everything, yeah.
well, also in here, there's a, you know, dealing with, Mr. Tree Person down there, you know. If
With
you
the
have,
what?
you can't have your, where is it?
Are you buying one of the licensed vehicle?
Well, yeah, unlicensed, that one too, I'm talking about, the business, any business are not allowed to use any street, avenue, highway, public ways, boulevards, property, or others to park or store their equipment unless in the active role of conducting business
Right.
in the property involved. You know what I'm talking about. So, I mean, it makes sense,
Yeah.
it really does, you know, and,
That's in the street,
yeah.
and then not any in the yard and stuff like that.
Well, and then, well, yeah, but that's a different ordinance. That's a
Right,
different
that-
ordinance.
That's a different ordinance.
But, you know, and you can't park there's a thing, you can't park in an alley. You know, because people
Mhm.
park there all year long in the alleys.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
it's just a hazard. And then you can't be in any right of way. You know,
Right. Mhm.
in any public right of way because people park their campers, there's a certain spot in town. I mean, this camper's right next to the road. It's not on the road, but it's right next to the road.
Yeah,
So
where
when
the
you,
front
and
end
they leave
sticks
it,
out
they leave
to
it there, so
the,
when you clean snow, you got a place for the snow.
yeah, the front end sticks out, you know, even with the street or just a little bit past that.
Yeah.
It should be back 10 feet, right? Is
Well,
that
it
the right
should,
way?
should be on their property.
Right, but isn't that 10 feet roughly from the curb?
It depends where you're
Yeah,
at.
it's
Depends where you're
that,
at.
but we gotta make sure that that is in there, that the stuff should be,
Well, I
you know,
think that's
off the right
covered
of
in here, yeah.
yeah, it's just so it's defined really well.
And then there's also, and this needs to be determined too, it should be allowed permanent park. Anything except, you know, your car on the street from October 1st. I got October 1st to May blank, May what, you know?
Could we go according to what Bismarck has then? I think they have what, the, end of October, beginning of November, something like that, for stuff on the streets?
I don't know.
I don't know what it is. I would like May 1st, or October 1st to May 15th is what I would like, but that might be, maybe October 1st to May 1st, maybe.
Yeah, that because,
Oh, that's a lot.
That's a long time.
yeah,
If you go, say, like, November 1st
But
to...
the thing is, we can have snow in the middle of October.
and then we have
Huh?
and the heavy wet snow can be in the spring where you have to push that stuff. So you wanna,
What do you think?
May,
And then you can have.
Or
years-
April-
you can have
April
years-
1st.
You can have years when people are out camping in March,
Yeah.
you know,
yeah.
so it's a pretty tough call.
I can't in November,
But-
so what's...
But, you know, it's a guideline, you know, and.
And if a person does it once, it won't be bad. It's the people that abuse it,
Right.
is
and
what
that's-
we have to
that's
do.
just it, yeah.
So no matter what day we pick, you know,
The thing is, who goes camping after October? Nobody.
no way. That's not
That's
camping.
hunting.
That's
That's
glamoring.
hunting.
That's glamping.
One oddball in every group, right?
But the thing is, once again, it's just for parking on the street, it's not, you know, I
Right.
mean,
So what are we gonna charge them for a fine then?
well, let's do this first. Let's get the dates. Because I want to do the first reading next month. This is not the first reading.
So we're not
Why
actually
don't we go
reading
with April 1st? Is that a little bit too?
April, May.
That's a month, you know,
April.
shorter. Because that usually melts the fastest, is usually in that time period of the deal. I'd rather be early in the fall and a little bit early in the spring.
So April,
October 1st to April 1st.
well, and that's fine because there's also the limited parking. So yeah,
Right.
that would be fine. I would say April 1st, yeah.
If that works.
Do you want October 1st or October 15th
Well,
or?
I don't know if it has any bearing on it, but the state with studded snow tires goes October 15th to April 15th.
Right.
I mean, that's,
Oh, really?
yeah, I mean, that's their guideline.
Yeah.
That is a
What-
good point.
Whether that would,
That's a good point.
I don't know whether there was, what kind of thought was put into setting those dates, but it kind of correlates if
Yeah.
we're worried about snow.
Right, fairly close.
So we would kind of split the
That'd be pretty
difference,
good.
we'd split the difference on either side,
So you're saying October 15th to April 15th?
15th.
Yeah,
No, I like that.
That's fine.
So,
I like that, okay.
like I said, I don't know what rationale they use, but it's been like that for a number of years, so.
Well, I think it has to do with the freeze and thaw cycle. but,
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would be similar to what we're looking at as far as winter, so.
Okay, so I like that, the pop-outs, we'll change that, and we'll do the, significant snow, and then, yeah, what would the fine be? It's up to, you know, everything that was fine, up to $500 and 30 days in jail. Wow. That's kind of unrealistic.
I don't
Well,
think
can
we're
we-
gonna put them in jail.
Can we go, the first time it's 50, the second time it's 100, third time it's 200? Would that work?
Is that way, like you're looking at, like, if you have a habitual,
Right, same, because that's our problem right now is the habitual. Because,
misusers of it.
right,
Well, I think if you just set a certain fine, you know, once they pay one, they're not gonna wanna pay it again.
some of these guys.
For $50 they will.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
but, you know, it'd be more encouragement to increase the fine once or whatever.
Well, like down here at your dump site, don't you guys have a $500 fine? Isn't that what it used to say when you went down into the grass thing here?
I think it's punishable up to 500.
Up to,
Yeah, it's up to, I don't like the up to part, I like a fine, period, you know.
Yeah.
It's kinda like speeding, if you speed this, you're, you know, you speed, you're $20 or whatever, you know, but, because the up to, who is it up to?
Yeah,
Then it would have to go to Hunzi, everything would have to go to Hunzi rather than just a certain fine, see?
Right.
right.
So, and I would say $50 to $100 somewhere in there, you know, and then, but it would be for, you know, but they get their warning first,
Well, right,
you
yeah.
know, and then,
Because these hunters, $50 is nothing to them. They spend that just for their,
but you gotta remember, this isn't just campers, it's
Yeah.
boats, trailers, it's everything, so.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't wanna be mean to people.
But it's gotta be enough to put some teeth in it.
It's got, exactly.
To discourage people from doing
or
it.
we could have a low fine the first time, but then the second time have a bigger fine. You know,
I'm just gonna say $50.
It's on the low side, but you can go ahead and
Well,
start that.
how about 75?
Yeah, let's do that.
What, 50 or 75?
Go 75.
$75.
And then a warning first time?
Oh, yeah, see, well, you get a warning, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a warning.
For the warning, so it's in there as well?
It won't be in here, but we always give warnings. I mean, you know, they always give warnings.
When you determine, fines, is there any type of state guidelines per offense that a city has to go with, just out of curiosity?
I know there is for like,
For like speeding and different things like that?
yeah, I
isn't
think there is for that, you got a certain thing, but I think we can pretty much do our own.
Yeah, they cap it at certain, like, for certain offenses, they'll cap it at that, but it's the city can kind of choose what they
Yeah.
want. They just can't exceed
Right, it can't exceed
certain
a
amounts
certain
that for
amount,
some
yeah.
things.
Okay.
You know, and there's also a thing in here that, you know, by order of the city commission, the police can, you know, impound. It's in here somewhere, where is it? Oh, here we go. Okay, $75, and any officer of the police department is authorized to impound and remove any vehicle, blah, 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 by order of the Washington City Commission. So, you know, if they don't, or they're habitual, whatever, so.
Easily. So once you have your first and second reading, this thing's set in stone unless you amend it.
Right.
With another first or second reading.
Right.
So, yeah, so I mean, I guess I kind of see some back and forth between 50 and 75 too, wondering, you know, so that the crime gets upon you, or the.
I know, right, yeah, I know.
And, then I guess in retrospect, why don't we start with 50 and see where we.
Like that better.
Yeah,
And that's why I said it.
yeah.
And I agree with you, everybody agree with that, I mean, I think that makes, this is not first reading today, this is just our draft, and it'll be ready by next week.
So what? Rhonda's been paying out of her,
I was just wondering, because I was always told that if you have a trailer on the street, you have to have a vehicle attached to it. Do you still have to do that? Like a flatbed trailer, a snowmobile trailer?
No, because the thing is, I mean, you only have 72 hours. So you gotta move it, you know, so,
Is that in the old ordinance, Larry?
No.
Because that's what I always assumed too, what she said is that.
it's not in there that I've ever seen.
Because I was always been told that if you're gonna park your trailer, you should have a vehicle attached to it. Because if driving in the dark, you're more apt to see the, you know, the vehicle like
Yeah.
right there than.
I always thought that was semi-trailers, but, because I know everybody parks their boat, they don't have a thing attached to it.
Or
Campers don't
camper.
have a thing attached to it. So,
Okay.
You know, like a couple of years ago, somebody was getting a warning on their trailer without having a vehicle that onto it.
Oh, really?
hmm. Well,
But
as far as I know, it's never been that way. And maybe that was a business thing, I don't know.
So you have a trailer that doesn't have a vehicle attached to it?
No, I don't have a trailer. My trailer's in my backyard.
I know, I'm giving you some crap.
So anyway, this will be, updated, and then,
So
we get a copy of the next meeting, and then we'll probably do first reading.
the,
Right?
I think that's where it's in the next meeting right here.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Negative? Good. Okay. We have a to update. Portfolios. Boy, Cameron, you got a lot.
Does he know which ones they are yet?
Okay, we have Andrew to your portfolios.
Well, you took over.
Yeah, so it'll be the forestry board, police and fire.
Yep.
Cutting down trees.
That's right.
With no budget.
Tim, you have anything?
Nope.
Mike?
We're working at the Memorial Hall on the fans that weren't hooked up supposedly, but we'll see.
Up on top?
Yeah,
They weren't hooked up.
They were hooked up.
They were all hooked up.
well, they said they haven't worked since the deal.
Well, we had them running during one of the Ducks Unlimited, not this year, but last year.
Well, this is what I was told.
All right, anyway.
So
we're
we're
good.
checking it
Okay,
with
all right.
Weber to see if it's a switch or something,
Okay.
something that got broke, so
Okay,
that's what we're working on with that, so,
very good. That it?
that's it.
Done?
No, just, personnel.
Okay, everybody probably has saw this, it's, you know, Mike had found this time machine over in, Beulah,
Mhm.
but this one here is a 600 gallon, which is like more than twice the capacity of the other one. It's being traded in at Swanson Equipment. And I just got this the other day, he's going to, be sending me more information on this. It's just more of an informational thing, it's $12,000, so I'll be getting more info on it for like maybe next meeting.
Right, because how much it weighs, because I don't wanna be pulling a 10,000-pound, trailer around on tandems tearing up the street in the middle of summer when it's hot.
Well, the idea of getting this is so we can tar it sooner. That's the idea.
Right,
Yeah.
that's
No,
what I'm
I
saying.
get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Because
Yeah.
tar is,
Yeah.
$10 a pound, or 10 pounds per gallon. So a 600-gallon tank is 6,000 pounds.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? And
yeah,
then
yeah.
weight and stuff.
But-
And it's a waste oil heater. Nobody knows how to run a waste oil heater.
What?
You gotta keep them, don't it say a waste oil heater?
No?
Just says oil-fired burners.
Oil-fired burner.
Dual oil-fired.
They use it for crack sealing. Yeah.
Yeah, but an oil-fired burner is completely different than propane. Right? Because you gotta keep that oil hot to get it up to temperature to fire it off to be efficient at all.
Well, we'll check into it anyway.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, I do.
Because
That was a good point, yeah.
propane's a
Okay,
lot
yeah,
quicker
no,
and
yeah, I get
easier.
it. I'll check into that.
Do
so.
we have, access to the tar?
I will be speaking with the county on Wednesday.
Okay.
Yep.
We find out how much that is, because the one that
Yep.
I located, I think has 100 gallons of tar in it.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically what they want for that and what's in the tar might be, basically you're getting the unit for free.
Yeah, yeah, we'll check into it.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And to see if this is going to work for us.
Right,
You know, I don't want to buy, you know, this expensive one
yeah.
and
Okay.
we don't like it,
Well, that's true, yeah.
you know. I know it's more work
Well, that's-
refilling it.
Well, that's okay, that's
You know,
good
that-
point.
those were the points, plus a diesel engine is just terrible to,
Well, yeah, I mean, we have to check it out, obviously. Like I said,
Exactly.
It's just, the guy knew we were looking,
right, yep.
and he brought this up, so.
But, so that was my concern.
Because they bought a new one, this, whoever it's coming
Well,
from,
that's,
so.
yeah, they all buy new.
I forgot something. Dump truck, where are we?
They're working on it, I talked to them end of last week, they said they were gonna work on it this week, so.
Yeah, hopefully we can keep mileage, see how much we actually use it. How many miles would I put on it a year?
Chelsea, you got anything?
Yes. When do you want open walk to begin?
When did we begin last year?
Usually I think it's always been October 1st to May 31st. This year, I mean, it's been exceptionally nice, but
It's gonna start to snow, so what, the 15th?
I would say use your
October.
discretion,
Yeah.
so whenever,
Okay.
yeah. And then just get it
you
on.
can start opening it up.
Yeah,
Okay.
get it on wherever you advertise that, so.
Yep,
We gonna let the janitor know then?
absolutely.
Yeah.
The Riverside Parks will be closing, being winterized this week.
Okay,
So they will be done, and then I do have, I didn't get it on the agenda, a delinquent utility bill that has not been paid, so I would like to, certify it to the county to be put onto their taxes.
I will make a motion to, put that utility, or certify that to the county to put on their, tax bill.
Second?
Don?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Did Adam plan on pulling out that dock? The fishing dock?
We got a little time.
Okay, I was just,
Somebody's actually, there was a boat in there today, believe it or not.
at the fishing pier?
Yeah, there was a boat out in the river, yeah.
Yeah.
Fishing dock, yeah. Figure that. Okay, anything else?
Nope.
No? Rhonda? Bills, everybody have a chance to review the bills?
Will you, Western Frontier is in there, just so we had a more accurate number of that, so just whoever makes the motion, include that with that,
With the
Okay.
changes.
with the changes for Western
Okay.
Frontier,
I'm
just so
gonna-
it's noted, and
Okay.
then AE2S if you're gonna.
Yes, I'm gonna make a motion to pay the bills with the changes made to Frontier Insurance, and also we're gonna pull the A2S bill out for this month to check on some of the charges.
Yeah. I'll second that.
Discussion? Don?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, next meeting, November 8th. Everybody have a good night, and meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.